Could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Salud! If you've been here with me before, you know that day 2 of the 2020 NFL Draft, or NFL Draft party coverage here on the Louie T Network in general, is a party. It's exactly that. And so tonight is going to be a night like any other. You know, we kick back, we relax, we watch the draft, we talk some nonsense, we have some fun, couple of drinks in between. You know the steed. So, day 1, full of a lot of drama, especially back end of the draft. And a lot of good football players left. A lot of guys that went in off the board in the first round. Some of them, not expected. And again, I talked about this. You're going to see some good football players push back. I read something earlier from a personnel member of one of these teams that said in all of his years of being in the NFL and participating in the draft, this is the most talented day 2 he's ever seen. At least 20 guys he believes are going to be big-time starters at the next level that are going to be drafted today. And normally there's only about 7 to 10, that guy said. So for what it's worth, I don't know what that actually means. I just know this is a deep draft, and we've talked about that. And I didn't think 4 linebackers were going to go yesterday. I didn't think 6 corners were going to go yesterday. But 6 corners went, 6 wide receivers went, 6 offensive tackles went, 4 linebackers went. We had a center go, and all of a sudden 4 quarterbacks go, and you look up, and you got 32 picks, and only 1 running back, no tight ends, no safeties off the board. A lot of intrigue left today. So looking forward to seeing how today unfolds. If you guys are out there, I want to first thank you for joining me on the stream. Hopefully you brought your beverage of your choice, whether that's a soda, some good old-fashioned H2O, the agua, or, a beer, some liquor. If you're a hard liquor guy, you got it, okay? I'm a wine dude, all right? Cheers. So, looking forward to one hell of a night. Let's first go through and recap what took place yesterday. We'll take a look at all of the happenings of yesterday. As we'll take a look at the positions. Louie T Network. Left, guys. So, as you see at the quarterback position, my top 4 guys off the board: Joe Burrow to the Cincinnati Bengals, Tua Tagovailoa to the Miami Dolphins, Jordan Love to the Green Bay Packers. That brought a lot of discussion yesterday after that pick was made. 4th quarterback on the board, Justin Herbert, went in the top 10 as well to the Los Angeles Chargers. You get to the running back position, only 1 running back comes off the board, and it's a surprise. Not really where he ended up, but just the fact that he was the first guy off the board. But it's a perfect fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire gone, last pick of the first round. And so only 1 back. You're going to see a lot of backs come off the board in this second round. I think you're going to see every bit of 3, possibly 4 running backs alone in this second round. I think you're going to see teams go ahead and go get theirs in this second round. You get to the receivers, 6 receivers off the board. We thought there were going to be at least 4, possibly 5. We got 6, not the 6 we thought. And really, after the first 4, there was a debate as to who would be the other 1 or possibly 2. CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys. Did not think he would last that long. That was a big get for the Cowboys. Jerry Jeudy to the Denver Broncos. I mocked that one, so I actually got that one right. Henry Ruggs III, the first wide receiver off the board to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm getting there. And Justin Jefferson, in a surprise, kind of falls to the Minnesota Vikings at 22. I thought he was a guy that wouldn't get past the Eagles at 21. Speaking of the Eagles, they took Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver out of TCU. I thought that was a little bit of a reach. And Brandon Ayuk ends up going to the San Francisco 49ers back end of the first round. They actually traded back up to snag Brandon Ayuk. And so he was the sixth and final receiver that went in the first round. No tight ends taken, so that is a completely clean slate there. We'll see who pops the top and which one comes off the board first. My money is on Notre Dame Fighting Irish tight end Cole Kmet to be the first guy off the board at the tight end position. Go on to the tackles. 6 tackles came off the board in round 1. Jets took Mekhi Becton, the third of the big 4 to go. Jedrick Wills went the pick before him to the Cleveland Browns. Andrew Thomas was the first tackle off the board to the New York Football Giants. Tristan Wirfs was traded up for by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 13 to complete the big 4 in the tackle department. Austin Jackson, I thought it was a little early for him. Dolphins select him at number 18, and Isaiah Wilson rounded out the 6th and final first-round tackle to the Tennessee Titans. I thought it was a little early for him, but when you think about what the Titans do offensively and what he's made to do as a 6'6", 350-pound tackle, it made a ton of sense. You get to the defensive line, only 2 defensive linemen taken, and rightfully so. I thought those were the only 2 worthy of a first-round pick. Derek Brown goes number 7 overall to the Carolina Panthers. Meanwhile, Javon Kinlaw goes 14 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. You get to the edge rushers. Chase Young, second player off the board taken by the Washington Redskins, and Kayvon Chaisson taken by the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 20. Those are the only 2 edge rushers. Expect plenty of these guys to come off the board. As a matter of fact, I'd venture to say in the first 10 picks of the second round, 3 of these edge rushers are probably going to be gone. AJ Epineza, Zach Bond, and Yetur Gross-Matos, I think will be gone within the first 10 picks potentially of this second round. Linebackers, I was surprised that 4 went off the board. And really, I had 3 going off the board, so 4 isn't that big of a stretch. Isaiah Simmons goes to the Arizona Cardinals at number 7. Number 8. Patrick Queen goes to the Baltimore Ravens, and what I deem to be one of the most perfect fits of the first round, 28th, I believe, overall, 29 somewhere in there. I believe it was 28th. Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma, 23rd overall. Los Angeles Chargers trade up with the New England Patriots to snag him, and they get their guy. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks select Jordan Brooks, 27th overall, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. Thought that was a little bit of a reach as well, but the guy is highly productive, so I'm not surprised by the pick. Commissioner's up. Let's see what he's got to say.
Night of the 2020 NFL Draft. Last night, we welcomed 32 men to the NFL family. Thank you for making it the most watched night in NFL draft history. That's a tribute to all of you and your passion for football. Tonight, we're continuing our important work with the Draft-a-thon. The NFL families contributed more than $85 million so far for COVID-19 relief, including $4 million last night through the Draft-a-thon. Tonight, the NFL will match every dollar contributed by fans. So let's keep it coming because we're going to double your money. On your screen are the 2 ways you can donate, and you'll see that throughout the night. So now it's officially time to open round 2 of the 2020 NFL Draft. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock.
All right. Raj has spoken. The Bengals are officially on the clock. All right. So day 2 has officially begun. As we continue through the positions, you've got the cornerback position. 6 corners went off the board yesterday. Jeff Okudah, number 3 overall to the Lions. C.J. Henderson, number 9 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. A.J. Terrell, 16th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Jeff Gladney ended up going to the Minnesota Vikings as they traded back in the draft and ended up getting Gladney right around 30 or so. The Dolphins took Noah Iggy out of Auburn and made him an interesting pick there because I thought that they were strapped at the cornerback position, but you can never have too many corners, just like you can never have too many edge rushers. They take another corner. Maybe they envision him being a slot guy. We'll see what happens with that. And then Damon Arnett, one of the probably bigger reaches of the first round. Most people perceive it to be, at least. goes to the Oakland Raiders at 19. Thought it was a little bit early for him as well. And no safeties taken in the first round, which blew my doors off because I was sure, absolutely 100% positive that Xavier McKinney was going to come off the board at some point in the first round. He was definitely worthy of a first round pick. Absolutely shocked that he didn't go, and someone's going to get tremendous value in Xavier McKinney. To me, he's a lights out safety. And honestly, I don't know how he did not get selected in the first round by someone, but it kind of goes to show you, one, no one was really hunting for a safety in particular, but two, the safety position is one of those positions you feel like you can get a little bit later on. And I think his talent was worthy of a first round pick. I am going to continue to contend that. Really shocked that he did not find a home in the first round. So with that being said, you know the rules to the game, then play. Tonight, no phones. So phones are out, even though I have the number on the screen. It's just me and you guys. Comment section with the hashtag LouieTLive or a super chat. You want to jump to the front of the line. Super chats are the way to do it. If for those Redskins fans out there, we got no pick in the second round, but we're going to see what happens, what transpires. Do the Redskins finally offload Trent Williams and acquire more draft capital? It's going to be interesting to see how that situation plays out. Minnesota, it seems to be the team that the Redskins have the best opportunity to move him to. So I'll be interested to see how that goes and whether the Redskins can move him today or not. I wouldn't be shocked if the Redskins don't move him today. I think today's the day if they want a pick for this year. If they don't move him today, then you probably won't see him moved during the draft at all. And then it becomes a situation where maybe they're going to hold on to him. Because if a team doesn't trade for him during the draft, maybe they want to give up draft capital for next year. And you know, if the Redskins are in that position where they can't get anything this year and they have to settle for something next year, so be it. But at the end of the day, they want something that they can get their hands on that's tangible in this year's draft. So we'll see what happens. But you look at Cincinnati, they're on the clock to start off the draft. There were rumors that teams like Indy and Detroit were willing to move back in this draft in the second round. We'll see if they ultimately do that. There are some football players worthy of trading up for, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. But I think Cincinnati is going to take a wide receiver here. Makes a ton of sense. I think the guy that makes the most sense for them at this particular spot is one of two players, Clemson wide receiver T. Higgins or Baylor wide receiver Denzel Mims. Those are the two guys that stick out like a sore thumb for me that fit what the Cincinnati Bengals are looking to do. You get the quarterback. I feel like you need to surround him with weapons. One thing that we don't talk about enough with Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa is the fact that both of those guys were surrounded by, immersed in talent. The receiver core for both of those teams, utterly ridiculous. You look at the Alabama players, had Devontae Smith come out, you would have probably had 3 first-round wide receivers coming out of Alabama. He decided to go back to school for whatever reason. And so Jalen Waddle is also on that roster at wide receiver for Alabama. It was just a abundance of riches. And at LSU, same deal. You had Marshall at wide receiver, obviously Jamar Chase, and then Justin Jefferson was a first-round pick. So and Clyde Edwards-Helaire ends up being a first-round pick. So the talent was clear and evident for both of those quarterbacks. I think you have to surround these guys with talent. So I wouldn't be shocked to see T. Higgins or Denzel Mims be the selection here for Cincinnati. And honestly, if I'm Indianapolis, I'm pleading Cincinnati not to take T. Higgins. He'd be a perfect fit in Indianapolis. I think they could use a big-time wide receiver with some size like a T. Higgins. Hell, Denzel Mims kind of fits that same bill as well. But T. Higgins, to me, is the guy that I would be looking for if I'm Indianapolis, and I think that's the same guy that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to look to select here as well. But I talked about T. Higgins. I did not think he was a first-round pick. I said top of the second round, however, first receiver off the board, one of the first picks. I thought he would be a Indianapolis Colt. He may end up a Cincinnati Bengal, but the pick is in. We're going to see what Cincinnati ultimately decided to do with the selection. I think it's going to be a wide receiver. We will see if they, in fact, go receiver. Do they go edge rusher? Do they go offensive line? a lot of choices here. Let's see what Cincinnati decides to do. But I want to welcome you guys to the show tonight. Tommy Knocker says, celebrating National Predator Day in D.C. Cheers to that. Let's see what else we got. The pick is in. I think Raj is about to step up to the podium to make the selection, and here it is.
With the 33rd pick in the 2020 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select T. Higgins.
There it is.
Wide receiver.
T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson to get the night started. Makes a ton of sense. As I mentioned, you got A.J. Green. It's A.J. Green coming back from his injury last year. You've got now T. Higgins in the mix. You still have Tyler Boyd in the mix. If John Ross could ever get his life together and stay healthy, now you've got a plethora of options for Joe Burrow to get the football to. And obviously, this pick is more about the future of A.J. Green. He's on the franchise tag, probably not going to be around for much longer past this season if they don't trade him. Remember, he's still eligible to be traded. So at the end of the day, you could see a situation where A.J. Green ends up not even suiting up for the Cincinnati Bengals this season. And they just need a replacement. T. Higgins is going to be that for them. And he gives them a legitimate number one option if there is no A.J. Green. If there is A.J. Green, they've got a lot of guys that they can get the football to now. So that's a great pickup for them. I think the Indianapolis Colts are in the same boat. They need a big-time wide receiver, I believe. T.Y. Hilton is oft injured. And I just think they need a big target. They drafted Parrish Campbell last year, but they need, to me, a big-time weapon out wide. And I wouldn't be shocked if they are looking for a wide receiver here themselves. And it may not be a Denzel Mims. They may actually elect to go with a guy with some more size, like a Michael Pittman Jr. You know, you'd be surprised at some of these guys that come off the board and when they come off the board. If I'm Indy, I'm looking for one of two things: edge rusher or wide receiver. Edge rusher, because even though Justin Houston had a nice bounce back season for them last year, he's 87 years old. At some point, you're going to have to replace Justin Houston. Don't know how many good years you're going to get out of him moving forward. You went out and got DeForest Buckner to man up that defensive line. Why not get him someone to be a running mate and get him some more help along that defensive line? So if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm thinking edge rusher here. If a receiver that I absolutely love is not available, and I think T. Higgins was that guy, they're probably looking to get out of the pick first and foremost, knowing their GM, Chris Ballard. If they can't get out, I'm looking edge rusher or wide receiver. If there's a receiver there that I love, I take him. If not, there are too many edge rushers sitting here at this pick for you to pass up if you're the Indianapolis Colts, if you're not able to get out of this selection. So I think that's the direction. If I were them, I would go. DMV fan, what's good? JP says, Redskins reportedly interested in moving into the second round if the opportunity is right. Again, I don't see that happening, but if there's a player there that they love that's within the striking distance of not having to mortgage the rest of the draft, because remember, the Redskins didn't have a ton of picks coming into the draft. They only had 7, all right, which is the requisite number you get when you enter the draft. I take that back. They had, I said that right, because they don't have a second and they don't have a 6th. They got 2 4s and 2 7s. So they had 7 picks entering the draft. I don't know if you want to trade up, have to give up multiple picks. The Colts pick is in. That was very, very quick. So they absolutely loved somebody at this selection.
With the 34th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Michael Pittman, wide receiver.
Damn, I'm good. I said, look, they may bypass a Denzel Mims or a KJ Hamler and go straight for size. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I think probably more so than most. I think this guy is extremely talented. I've always said about him, and I thought that would turn some people off, he does nothing great, everything well, but he does have one trait that you can't teach. That's size, folks. The man is 6'4", 220. So you can't teach that. Either you're 6'4" or you're not. So They take Michael Pittman Jr. I love the selection for them. That's the kind of guy they're missing in their offense. They got speed. They've got small guys that are shifty. They don't have size. Now they do. Great selection by the Indianapolis Colts. He can go up and get the football, gives them a red zone target. Phillip Rivers coming to town wants to throw the football up and give guys an opportunity to make plays. This is the guy you can do it with. That's a great selection by the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm hot today, 2 for 2. And usually on day 2 is when I heat the hell up. So expect your man Louie T to be dishing out dimes tonight. I'm 2 for 2. I'm not going to get this next one, though. Detroit is on the clock. And I look at the Lions, and they could use a number of positions as well. Receiver is definitely a need for them. But you know what? If I'm the Lions, I still don't think they get enough pressure on the quarterback. So, if I'm the Detroit Lions, a guy that kind of fits what they do, if you're looking at that New England Patriots model, 2 guys in particular, Zach Bond out of Wisconsin and AJ Epineza. And I think Epineza makes a lot of sense. But if they're looking for a guy that gives them some length, even though he's raw, Yetur Gross-Matos makes a lot of sense. I'm going to stop being on the fence and waffling, and I'm going to give you one specific name here. I'm going to go with AJ Epineza as the pick. My secondary pick is Yetur Gross-Matos. Let's see what they decide to do. It wouldn't shock me if they went wide receiver, even though they loaded up on a couple of mid to late round receivers last year. I don't know what the future of the receiver position looks like. Obviously, Marvin Jones is on his last legs in Detroit. They have a stud out there in Kenny Golladay. They'd be nice to add someone opposite of him, especially with Marvin Jones most likely on his way out. I think he's got one more year left in Detroit. So that's what I'll say. But anyway, love to know what you guys are drinking tonight. Do me a favor, leave it in the comment section. What you guys sipping on tonight? If you're sipping on anything, what's your beverage of choice? As we get through some of these comments. Roaring Flame says, what will be the first trade of the night? I don't know. I think kind of like yesterday where the first 12 to 14 picks went without a hitch, no trades. I think you can kind of see something similar to that. I think let me see what happens after New England. I think New England is going to make a selection here. They got 13 picks. I don't see them trading back again. After New England's pick, I want to see where the draft goes, who's on the board. I think the Falcons want to move up, and I think that's a team to look out for. Where they're going to move up with to, their GM, Thomas Dimitroff, is really good friends with the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars, David Caldwell. So that's why I mocked a trade in the first round from 16 to 9 to get a corner, which they ultimately selected, but they did not select the guy that the Jaguars ultimately selected at number 9 and CJ Henderson. They ended up having to settle on AJ Terrell. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw a trade in the second round between those same 2 teams because of the relationship between the 2 general managers. The Lions pick is in. I've given you my choice here. Let's see who it is. I'm going to go with AJ Epineza.
With the 35th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select DeAndre Swift.
Running back,
Georgia.
Okay, that makes sense. DeAndre Swift to the Detroit Lions kind of gives them that Theo Riddick vibe, even though he's more well-rounded in terms of his ability to actually run the football out of the backfield. I'm thinking about their running back situation. I think they had LeGarrette Blount a season ago. And I want to say that, and that's why I didn't think they would draft a running back, because they took Kerryon Johnson just 2 years ago, but he's dealt with some injuries. And because of those injuries, I think they're looking at the running back position as one that they can upgrade. And their offense doesn't work as well without the running back position being a focal point. Last year, when he was healthy, he being Kerryon Johnson, They were playing good ball. Matthew Stafford was healthy. Kerryon Johnson was healthy early in the season. Remember, the Lions were actually a good football team. And then they kind of had that meltdown on Monday Night Football versus the Green Bay Packers, the game that they should have won. And then Stafford ends up getting injured. Kerryon Johnson dealt with some injuries. And next thing you know, their season went to hell in a handbasket. But I told you you're going to see running backs come off the board in bunches in the second round. The first of many to come comes off the board. And the Giants are now on the clock. The pick is in for the Giants. To me, this has got to be a wide receiver. If I'm the Giants, their wide receiving core stinks. And so if I'm the Giants, I need help at wide receiver. Here's the time to do it. And a guy like Denzel Mims makes a ton of sense. If they're looking for some speed, maybe a KJ Hamler makes a ton of sense for them right now. But if I'm the Giants, I've got to upgrade the weaponry around Daniel Jones. There's just not enough. Their best receiver last year, arguably, was a rookie out of Auburn in Darius Slayton. I don't imagine them wanting that to be the case again this year, even though they had Golden Tate back there. Golden Tate was invisible for many weeks last season, and he's up there in age as well. If I'm the Giants, right here, right now, it's either a wide receiver or you get the best safety in the draft. I could see them going in that direction as well. I would love that pick if I'm the Giants of getting Xavier McKinney, which to me is still a travesty and a farce that he's even available at this point. But that makes a ton of sense. I also would like to go receiver, but because it's such a deep draft at receiver and you've got the chance to get the best safety in the draft, I think it's a no-brainer. You probably go with the safety instead of the wide receiver and get you a receiver a little bit later on in the draft. We'll see what happens. Anyhow, Roaring Flame says, what kind of wine? I am sipping on my favorite, Duplin. I've told you guys that. I'm not getting paid by Duplin, so I'm not going to keep putting that bottle up there. But I'm drinking Duplin, man. And they got multiple flavors. I've been to their winery before. It was an excellent experience. Looking forward to going back. But love me some Duplin. Muscadine grapes are the best. Ha! Let's keep going with these comments. JP says, would you consider Kinlaw as an edge or defensive tackle? He's more of a defensive tackle to me. You can move him around, but if you're playing a 4-3, which the Giants do, he's an interior defensive lineman. He's a 3-tech. So I would not play him at defensive end, but there could be a package where he slides out to defensive end, sure. But to me, to best utilize his skill set inside is where you want him. So he's a defensive tackle. Anyway, Farrah Cody says, we're not trading Trent. We may not. They want to trade Trent. It's not because of lack of trying. It's just that they're not giving him away. Teams want to fleece the Redskins, and Ron Rivera just simply isn't having it. Kevin says, best wide receiver fit for the Packers. Personally, I like KJ Hamler's speed and return ability. KJ Hamler makes a ton of sense. They don't have a guy like that on their team right now. They got speed, Marquez Valdez-Scantling can run. They've got guys that can run on their football team. But they don't have a short, shifty guy on their football team. One that could work the slot, which is what KJ Hamler can do. So that would make a ton of sense. Another guy that can work the slot for you with some speed is Devin Duvernay. So there are a ton of slot receivers in this draft. There's also James Prochet out of SMU. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There are a ton of options in the slot if you're looking for that. But if you're looking for, to me, the Packers have a lot of the same guys. All of these guys are anywhere between 6'2" and 6'4", can run, but not really that shifty. You probably need a small guy, to play that Randall Cobb role, if you will. Don't think you have that guy on the roster right now. So a KJ Hamler would make a ton of sense if he could get to you at the end of the second round, which I'm not quite sure that's going to happen with that kind of speed. You saw what speed did in the first round and got Henry Ruggs III selected first among wide receivers. I do not think KJ Hamler is going to last until the late part of the second round. If I'm the Giants, Xavier McKinney makes a ton of sense. So does a wide receiver here for them as well. So we'll see what they decide to do. The pick is in. We're waiting for the commish to come up and announce it. Hold on, let me make sure that they ain't trying to give us slip some dudes in.
The metro area during the COVID-19 epidemic. We are proud to be here today, and thank you for inviting us to be a part of the New York Giants announcement. We love you, New York. Go Giants!
Oh, I had to make sure that the draft ain't trying to slip in some guest appearances like they normally do.
Smith. And thank you to all our service members, both here and around the world. We cannot thank you enough for what you do and what you continue to do in these uncertain times. Thank you. With the 36th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Xavier McKinney.
There it is. Xavier McKinney, safety out of Alabama, makes a ton of sense. Best player on the board at this point. Like I said, I thought it was a travesty that he wasn't a first-round pick. When you watch this guy play on the field and you look at his body of work, I just don't understand how this guy wasn't a first-round pick. It behooves me. It baffles me. And the Giants just got themselves a hell of a football player. I'm actually disappointed that he ends up in the division, not on my team. So a little disappointed there that he ultimately ends up in New York with the Giants. But this guy's a hell of a football player. And I feel like the Giants just got a steal in the second round. So I'm 3 for 4 in the second round. Nailed the McKinney pick. And so now the Patriots are on the board. To me, the Patriots can still select the guy that I thought they were going to select in the first round, which is Zach Bond. To me, it's either A.J. Epineza or Zach Bond. Those guys smell and feel like New England Patriots to me. And really the guy that feels like a New England Patriot, smells like a New England Patriot is Zach Bond because of his versatility. You know how Belichick loves his versatile defenders. That's a guy that can drop into coverage in space. That's a guy that can rush the quarterback. And that's probably his best attribute at this point is his ability to rush the quarterback. Similar to the role that Kyle Van Noy filled for that defense. He's no longer there. He moved on in free agency to the Miami Dolphins. They need a guy to replace him in that lineup. I think a guy like Zach Bond could be able to do that. A.J. Epineza gives them some edge rushing ability, something they lack in New England. So that kind of makes sense to me as well. So those are all options. I don't see them doing anything like a receiver. They took a first-round wide receiver last year. They still have Edelman on the roster. I don't think they'll go receiver this early. I do think, and they just signed Marquise Lee as well, so don't anticipate this being a receiver. I could definitely see this being some kind of linebacker or edge rusher here with this pick. I think Belichick wants to rebuild that defense because if they're going to have a chance to compete this season, it's going to be on the defensive side of the football. Here's the pick.
In the 2020 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Kyle Duggar, defensive back.
Kyle Duggar, defensive back out of Lenore Ryan is the pick. So we're starting to see the safeties come off the board. Didn't see that one coming. They brought back McCourty, so I didn't know that they would do this. But again, remember, McCourty was contemplating retirement, ended up coming back. So it makes a ton of sense that they draft potentially his replacement in the lineup here with Kyle Duggar. I think Duggar was my 4th rated safety. Let's take a look at that safety list now that we've seen safeties go back-to-back picks. Let's take a look at the safety position and see exactly what that looks like. So Duggar was my 3rd safety on my list. So we see the number 1 safety in the draft come off the board at 36 to the Giants. We see the number 3 safety on my board, Kyle Duggar, come off the board to the New England Patriots at 37. And so now the Carolina Panthers are on the board. And it wouldn't shock me if we saw yet another safety come off the board. Remember, they just got rid of, Reed this offseason. After signing him to a 3-year deal just last offseason, they just cut ties with him not even 2-3 weeks ago. So you could see a situation here where they decide to go with the safety as well. I think they could use an upgrade at corner. Remember, they just lost James Bradbury in free agency. They're depleted everywhere. The Panthers are in full rebuild mode. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them go in a number of different directions. They could use offensive line help. They just got Teddy Bridgewater. They got Christian McCaffrey on a brand new deal. I'm going to say that this is another safety.
With the 38th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Yetur Gross-Matos, defensive end, Penn State.
So Yetur Gross-Matos comes off the board, and boy, he looks the part of a Carolina Panther. They like him long, in Carolina. He's definitely going to fit that mold. And I think it's a good move by Carolina. He's raw, though. He's going to need time to develop. But one thing's for sure, there's definitely some talent here with Yetur Gross-Matos. And so we're moving right along here in the second round as we get to the edge rushers and look at the list. So Yetur Gross-Matos, my 5th overall edge rusher, off the board to the Carolina Panthers at 38. AJ Epineza, Zach Bond still available. And I think you're going to see, I told you, I thought it was possible in the first 10 picks, you were going to see 3 edge rushers. We've got 1 gone. We'll see if we get these other 2. We've still got 4 more picks to go before we've elapsed 10 picks in the second round. Getting a little dicey. The Dolphins could definitely use some edge rushing help. But they could use a number of other things. Remember, they traded away their all-pro safety last year to the Miami Dolphins. So, again, the safety is every position for the Miami Dolphins is on the board. I think here's where you see the Dolphins probably pursue running back, though. I think they resisted the urge to do it at the back end of the first round when they had the 30th selection when they traded back. I think they finally give in to the urge to take a running back here. And I think you see running back Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin as the selection here. To me, he's the best running back in this draft. I know the versatility might not quite be there like the other backs, like a Swift or a Edwards-Helaire or even a J.K. Dobbins, who could be the pick. I think it's one of the two. It's either Dobbins or Jonathan Taylor. But to me, they have so many running backs already on their roster that I'm not looking for a guy that can do everything. I've got 18 backs already, so I can split up the duties. One guy can catch it out of the backfield. Jonathan Taylor is a workhorse and a guy that I think is a stud at the next level. You open up holes for him, he will dominate. If I'm the Dolphins, that's the selection for me here at 39. But I feel pretty confident in saying that this, most likely than not, is going to be a running back. So we continue on. Got a super chat. Gonna go ahead and read that really quick before we get to this next pick. J.R. Hicksonball, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. J.R. Hicksonball writes, damn it, I want Troutman. #Predator. Let's see what happens. I'm probably a little bit behind, so, maybe he's already come off the board. I doubt it. So we'll see what happens. Let's run through a couple of these comments quickly to kind of catch up a bit. RC says, who's your favorite remaining players regardless of position? I've got a couple that are really good football players. I still think AJ Epineza is severely underrated because he's not explosive. Teams are just passing on AJ Epineza. Right now, to me, he is one of the best players on the board. You look at I think the next position that I would go to would be safety, and I think the guy that should be next is Antoine Winfield. So for me, the 2 best players available on the board are Antoine Winfield Jr. and AJ Epineza. Not too far behind is the running back Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. That's a guy that I really like. Jordan Moreno. I got more super chats. So let's get to those. DMV fan 123, thank you for the super chat. DMV fan 123, greatly appreciated. He says, okay, Colts didn't do too bad with our pick. No, they didn't. And I knew they were going to spend it wisely. It was right there at the top of the second round. You knew they were going to have an opportunity to get someone really good, and they did exactly that with Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver out of USC. Perfect fit for the Colts and where they are right now in their development. Barrett Downing, my man BD, thank you for the super chat as always, holding me down. Thank you so much, BD, for your participation and your contribution. My man BD writes, appreciate you being on because I'm still working. Well, I'm always here to support those who are out making bread, all right? Go ahead and continue to bake that bread, bruh. I got you. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I will not be of any use to you tomorrow. I usually don't do day 3. I take day 3 off. But I'm glad I could be of service to you days 1 and 2 of the draft. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the near future. But get that bread while it's there to be got. And thank you so much for the super chat, BD. Trevor Patch with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Trevor Patch. Greatly appreciate it. My man Trevor writes, Lou, have you ever had the drink Blue Motorcycle? Yes, I have. It is delicious. Okay. That used to be the drink of choice. And then I found Mai Tais, and that became my drink of choice. But Blue Motorcycles are excellent, and I would recommend them to anyone. Adrian Jones, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Adrian writes, number 63, who you got? I don't even know who holds the 63rd pick in the draft. Let's see. Who finished? The 49ers were supposed to hold the 63rd pick in the draft. Maybe that pick belongs to the Chiefs now. I don't know who owns the 63rd pick. So I can't really help you on that one, because I don't even know who owns that pick. Anyhow, thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones. Just Andre says, how would you feel if the Skins picked Delpit with the 66th pick? I wouldn't have a problem with that. I hate the fact that he's not a great tackler, but it's not for a lack of trying. He's just not good at it. So I wouldn't mind the pick at all if they went Grant Delpit at 66. Here's the Dolphins pick. I'm going with an edge rusher. I think I said edge rusher.
2020 NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins select Robert Hunt, tackle, Louisiana.
So they ended up going offensive line, Robert Hunt, who's going to kick inside the guard. He said tackle, did Roger Goodell, but Hunt's going to end up being a guard at the next level. He's a really powerful dude, man. When you talk about ability to move guys and create a new line of scrimmage, he consistently did that at Louisiana Lafayette. So this is a guy that they're looking to help open. And I said running back. I said that they were going to take Jonathan Taylor. So let me double back on that. I said running back, and they didn't take a running back. And you know what's crazy is when I look at their roster, the Dolphins, quickly before we move on. When I look at their roster, they got a ton of running backs. They still got the ASU running back that they took a couple of years ago in like the 3rd or 4th round. The hell is his name? He's a big ass dude too, like 6'2", 230. Ran a 4.4, and everybody was all goo goo gaga over him. Can't even remember his damn name, but he's a big ass back. But they got him, and they got like 2 or 3 other dudes back there, and I'm like, you still need a running back? But then I looked at the totality of that position, and I'm like, none of these guys are legit A1 starters in this league. They're all complimentary backs at this point. So I see the need for a lead dog in the clubhouse, which is why I think a Jonathan Taylor makes sense for them. But nonetheless, they go Robert Hunt here. And like I said, if you want to move guys off the line of scrimmage, Robert Hunt is the man for the job. And you see what they're trying to do. They're building this offensive line in front of their franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. They understand, look, Tua's had some injuries in college. the best way to make sure that he doesn't get injured is to keep drafting offensive linemen to protect him. They've drafted 2 in the first 2 rounds. They're not done, most likely. We'll see what happens. But back to just Andre and Grant Delpit. I wouldn't have any issues with Grant Delpit at 66 unless there were guys on the board at the time of that selection that I thought were better fits at positions of need that I thought were equal or greater value. If that's not the case, then I wouldn't have any issues with Grant Delpit. If there isn't a guy that I've got a man crush on at that particular point of the draft that I think is great value, then I don't have a problem. Texans pick is in. This is probably an edge rusher.
The Houston Texans select Ross Blacklock.
I started out hot, and now I'm not. Ross Blacklock is the pick, defensive tackle out of TCU. Not one of my favorite guys, but this is right around where a guy like Ross Blacklock probably deserves to be in the draft. He's got some talent, man. My thing with him is if he doesn't win initially with quickness, he's not going to win. And I have a problem with guys. Now, he doesn't stop working. It's not for a lack of trying. It's just that he either wins with quickness initially off the snap or he just doesn't. And so the Colts pick is in, but he could potentially be a pass rusher at the next level. He can be one of those defensive tackles that actually gets pressure on the quarterback. So I think that's going to determine how good of a pick this is if he develops into a interior defensive lineman that can get after the quarterback. If not, then this pick won't be worth the weight of it in stone. But this in gold, I should say. But this is a guy right here. You see him there, split a double team if you're watching it on ESPN. Where else are you watching it at? I mean, they're the only show in town at this point. And you see him being a disruptor. I love him as a one-gap penetrator up the field. He's got some talent, man. There's no mistaking it. Remember, he also had an ACL injury in 2018 that cost him his entire season. So that's also something to consider with this guy. But the reason why there was potential first-round ability with this guy was because teams looked at him as a guy that could potentially get to the quarterback. And if he can do that, I think he's a chance, a guy that has a chance to be a big-time playmaker at the next level for the Houston Texans. Colts pick is in. Looking at that Indianapolis Colts football team, I still think edge rusher. Remember, I said wide receiver, edge rusher the first time I went with wide receiver. I'm going to go edge rusher now. I think that's still a position that they can solidify in Indianapolis. So I'll go with edge rusher for them. Let's go back to the Super Chats. Mr. Laughing My Head Off, thank you for the Super Chat. Mr. Laughing My Head Off, greatly appreciated. Mr. Laughing My Head Off writes, who would you like us to pick with the 66th pick? What position is most important with that pick? He said, do you see someone sliding to us at 66? Here's the pick for the Indianapolis Colts.
The Indianapolis Colts. With the 41st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft,
AJ Epineza.
the Indianapolis Colts select Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, shit.
Wisconsin.
Jonathan Taylor, running back, Wisconsin. You know what? I'm shocked by this pick because when I look at the Colts, depth chart and I look at their running back situation, they just drafted 2 running backs that I really liked 2 years ago. And Marlon Mack and the kid out of Ole Miss. I can't think of his name right now, but I liked him a lot too. And they go Jonathan Taylor. I'm kind of baffled by this pick. I mean, running back is one of those positions you can never have too many, I guess. Yes, you can. I don't understand this pick. I love Jonathan Taylor as a football player. You know that. I just didn't think that they needed a Jonathan Taylor, but I can tell you what. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch with him and Marlon Mack. That's a hell of a 1-2 punch in a combination there. Wow, I didn't see that one coming. That was a surprise to me there. I did not see Jonathan Taylor going to the Indianapolis Colts. Someone's got to explain that one to me. Maybe Marlon Mack's injury history has them wanting more at the running back position. And here's a guy that's extremely durable. He's shown the ability to be a workhorse. And you open up a hole, and they've got the offensive line that they can open up holes. We know they've got one of the most talented offensive lines in all of football. Them, the Dallas Cowboys, Tennessee Titans are all teams that run the football very effectively, or at least have the offensive linemen up front to be able to do so. It makes a ton of sense from that standpoint and perspective, but when I look at their roster, I just didn't think running back was one of the positions of need. But for them, this might have been simply, look, best player available, irregardless of position of need. Best player available is Jonathan Taylor, and we're going to take him. I don't have any problems with that thought process. If that's your train of thought, if I hear from Chris Ballard after the draft and he says, what was my thought process in the second round taking Jonathan Taylor, best player on the board, and so we took him, highest guy on our board at that time, and we took him, I can't argue with that. Okay, the draft is all about what you perceive to be value. They got value there. I can't knock the hustle. Mr. Laughing My Head Off says, would you like us to pick? Who would I like us to pick at the 66th pick? Let me see what DJ says.
32 times last year. So they were putting that ball in his belly. He wasn't asked to protect. And Phillip Rivers has always had a back that could do that. So that's another area he's going to have to address.
Real quickly, he had some history at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Okay. So, I want the Redskins to address offensive left tackle or tight end or wide receiver. One of the three positions. I've said all along that if this is not a strong draft, particularly at tight end. So if you're looking at the tight end position and you're not overwhelmed by any of the guys that are sitting there at 66, okay, I'm fine with you bypassing it and doubling back. We got 2 fourth-round picks and doubling back and getting one of the tight ends that you like, at that point of the draft at 66 or in the 4th round with one of those 4th-round picks. Wide receiver is definitely something that will probably have value at 66. You know how I feel about Antonio Gandy Golden and some of the other big receivers in this draft. Michael Pittman Jr. is already gone, but there are going to be other wide receivers available. Obviously, the Golden Domer is going to be available. Chase Claypool, more likely than not, if the trend continues in this round. So receiver, definitely, but tackle is something the Redskins need to address. If a guy like Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State is available, I would not be disappointed if they decided to turn their direction towards left tackle and try to find the guy of the future there, because Trent is obviously not it. So right now, I could see a lot of guys falling to us at the receiver position. I don't see any other position necessarily falling to the Redskins. Safety is, I think you're going to see 1 or 2 more safeties go before the Redskins are on the clock in the 3rd round. I think you're going to see 1 or 2 corners go. So I think the cornerback position isn't going to be as intriguing. There's still some guys I really like at corner. So if Jalen Johnson is available at corner out of Utah, who's my 3rd rated corner in this draft, if Trayvon Diggs, the corner out of Alabama, is available, he's my 4th rated corner in this draft. If those guys are still on the board, I think you look at cornerback seriously. You take a hard, long look at corner and decide if that's the direction you want to go, because that would be some tremendous value at that point. I think those guys are going to be gone. So when it's all said and done, I think you're going to look up at the board. Corner is not going to be really that enticing. Neither is safety. I think you're going to also look and say, we don't need any more edge rushing help. We got plenty of edge rushers. We got them coming out of our ears at this point. So that's not going to be a position that you consider. You're going to look at the linebacker position and say, well, the value isn't really here at linebacker in the 3rd round, top of the 3rd round. So I think you're going to bypass linebacker at that point. And then you're going to start looking at the offensive side of the football. All right, and you're going to look at offensive tackle. You're going to look at wide receiver, and you're going to look at tight end. And I think those are the positions that the Redskins are going to be considering long and hard at 66. And the one that gives you the best value, I think, is the one they pull the trigger on. And it's hard to say right now because we got to see how the rest of this round shakes out before we can start talking about where the value is. As of right now, it's still at tight end because no tight end has been taken. You get to take the tight end that you think is the best in this draft. If you have that opportunity, if you're the Redskins, similar to the Giants, even though it was a different scenario because they were getting a guy with 1st-round talent at 35, so it's kind of a similar deal here. They got to the pick of the litter at the safety position. They got their guy. The Redskins may get to do that at the tight end position. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to see 2 tight ends probably taken by the time we get to 66. So I think receiver may offer you the most value at 66. a tackle may also be a close second there as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars pick is in at this point. They could use a tight end themselves. They could also use a quarterback. Jalen Hurts makes a ton of sense here for Jacksonville because we don't know what Gardner Minshew is. I like what I saw from him last year, but after trading Nicholas Foles, a quarterback makes a ton of sense for them right here. And if Gardner Minshew is the guy you're rolling with, Jalen Hurts is kind of in that same mold. They're kind of cut out of the same type of DNA makeup. Guys that can create plays off schedule, guys that make things happen when the play breaks down, and guys that just find ways to get it done. Let's see what the Jaguars decide to do.
In the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Laviska Shenault, wide receiver, Colorado.
So Laviska Shenault Jr. is the pick here. You know how I feel about Laviska Shenault. He was my fifth rated wide receiver in this draft. Thought he had first round talent. I think if not for the injuries, probably goes in the first round. But the injuries kind of pushed him down the totem pole, so to speak, at the receiver position. I think he ultimately is going to show the NFL that they made a mistake. If he can stay healthy. That's the biggest if with him. If he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a problem for many years to come, I believe. Because to me, he's a stronger version of Samuel Watkins. And so not as much speed, obviously, but he can run. Don't sleep on him. And so a lot of teams come out of timeout today. The Chicago Bears, out of timeout. The Indianapolis Colts, out of timeout. The Buffalo Bills, out of timeout. Los Angeles Rams, Houston Texans, out of timeout. The Bears pick, they were so excited, their pick is already in, okay? So the Bears are going to make a selection here. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bears go in a number of different directions. Let's kind of think about their situation. They just released one of their tight ends, couldn't stay healthy. The one they got from the Philadelphia Eagles about 2-3 years ago. I think tight end, the first tight end off the board is right now to the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame. I think he's the first tight end taken. So I'm going to go tight end with the Bears. They're going to pop the top on the tight end position right now. It's the Chicago Bears. Got another super chat. Going to get to that. It's Adrian Jones who says, I meant 66. Who you got? Sorry about that. Double up. For my man, Adrian Jones. 66. Who do I got? Again, I'm going to answer that question in about 20 picks from now. By the time we get to about 60, 63, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we see the damage that's been done in the second round, I'll be able to kind of pinpoint what I think the Redskins are ultimately going to do. Hard to say right now that we're 23 picks away from the Redskins selection because I could give you a player right now and he could be gone right here with the Bears pick. I could give you a player and he could be gone 5 picks from now. So I think ultimately we've got to wait and take a wait and see approach. And as we get a little bit closer and we see how the board falls, then we can start zeroing in on players and hoping that they're still there, allowing the Redskins to at least have the decision to make whether they want that player or not. So I think that Matt Nagy's man cave is the first one we've actually seen that looks like a real draft war room. If those pictures on the wall are, I don't think that's what those are. It looks like games. I see teams and different teams that the Bears have played on those posters. So I don't think that's what that is. But anyhow, the Bears pick is in. We'll see who they decide to select. I'm going tight end, and I'm going to say it's Cole Kmet out of tight end out of Notre Dame. I think they're going to pop the top on the tight end position. Anyhow, Star Wars Redskin says, hey, Louie T. Pierre Lewis is the only 4-3 outside linebackers the Redskins got in free agency. Do you see them addressing outside linebacker position in this draft? No, because I think they look at Reuben Foster as a potential outside linebacker. I know they look at Thomas Davis. Remember, he was also an acquisition the Redskins made he is also an outside linebacker. So they acquired 2 linebackers on the outside. Here's the pick for the Bears.
Taking care of our communities in Chicago and all over the country. We are proud to support you and all frontline workers. We will get through this together. Now, with the 43rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Cole Kmet.
All right.
Tight end.
I stopped my slide. Get the pick of Cole Kmet right. I thought he would be the first tight end off the board out of Notre Dame, and he was really good pass catching tight end. Got a lot of work to do in the blocking department, but when you talk about skill sets that translate to the NFL, Cole Kmet has it in spades, and or has them in spades. And so this is a guy that I'm high on as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. Got to watch him play. Dealt with some injuries at Notre Dame. That's something else to take into consideration. But if he's healthy, he makes a ton of sense for the Bears. And that pick, doesn't surprise me one bit there. So thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't even realize that I had I didn't realize I had the slide stuck on safeties. I'm sorry. This whole time I'm thinking that I had the draft screen back up. I apologize for that. Anyhow, let's see. Malik Ross with a super chat. Let me make sure there are no super chats before you. There aren't. So Malik Ross, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Malik Ross writes, did you hear Julie Donaldson's report about the 49ers' interest in Trent? What do you make of it? No, I didn't read that report. There are so many reports right now. I really have just kind of steered clear from them because, if you read all the reports yesterday, Trent was definitely going to Cleveland. If you read the reports 2 days ago, the Jets were interested. All of those teams took tackles in the draft, and I thought that was going to be the case. I've said all along the team that makes the most sense is Minnesota. I'm not buying what anybody else is selling at this point. Now, I will say there is history there. Kyle Shanahan, very familiar with Trent Williams, his skill set, and what he's able to provide. And the 49ers did not take a tackle. They do need tackle help, so that does make sense. But the 49ers don't have any ammunition. They've traded away all of their picks. Unless you're talking about draft compensation for next year's draft, the 49ers don't have anything which to speak of. I think their next pick isn't until the 4th round. So the Redskins aren't looking for multiple 4th round picks. So the 49ers absolutely have nothing that interests the Redskins at this point. So I don't really buy that all that much. Again, the team that makes the most sense for me is the Minnesota Vikings. They've got 87 picks in this draft. If someone is going to be willing to give up what is necessary for the Redskins to feel comfortable moving on from Trent Williams, it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings more likely than not, if a deal gets done at all. The Cleveland Browns, they're on the clock. Their pick is in. I said all along that the Browns could use an upgrade along the defensive line at edge rusher. They've got Myles Garrett and really nothing else to speak of in terms of getting to the quarterback. They did sign Adrian Claiborne. I'm looking at the screen now. So they did sign Adrian Claiborne. So that, he's not a difference maker to me. I would not, that wouldn't stop me from looking for an edge rusher in this draft. They also moved on from Demarius Randall at the safety position. So that's something else to consider as well. But anyhow, let's get back to the comment section. And thank you for the super chat, Malik Ross. Billy Amp, thank you for the super chat, Billy Amp. Greatly appreciated. Billy Amp writes, I think we should look hard at cornerback at 66 because of how the Eagles and Cowboys selected CD and Rager. But what do you think, Louie? Love your work. I don't necessarily have a knee-jerk reaction to what the other teams in the division do. If you're getting your ass whooped by those teams repeatedly year after year because of something they do that you can't stop, then you have to adjust. But as of right now, CeeDee Lamb hasn't caught a pass, similar to Chase Young, hasn't sacked a single quarterback in the league. So you don't need to double team him his first game right out of the gates. He has to prove to you that he's a legit NFL pass rusher before you start adjusting your game plan to block him and using double teams and chipping him with the back and keeping the tight end in to block. You got to see him do it first. Same thing with CeeDee Lamb and same thing with Jalen Reagor. Before I overreact, oh my God, we got to draft corners. We need corners because we need corners. Not because the Cowboys drafted CeeDee Lamb or the Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor. We need corners because our cornerback situation stinks. It's less than desirable at this point. So it's not the case of, oh man, look at what the Cowboys and Eagles did. We better react to that. It's, hey, we need to upgrade our roster. So I'm looking at corner at 66, not because of what the Cowboys or Eagles did, but because we need to get better at cornerback. Simple as that. But I wouldn't ignore cornerback at 66. But again, it's all about value. ESPN showing Grant Delpit, which leads me to believe he may be the pick here for the Browns, which makes a ton of sense because I just talked about Demarius Randall not being on the roster anymore. He's a free agent right now, hasn't signed with an NFL team yet. So safety makes a ton of sense. And I'm trying to think. The Antoine Winfield Jr. hasn't gone yet. That would be the guy. If I'm the Browns, Antoine Winfield Jr. would be the guy. So if you're going to go safety, Antoine Winfield Jr. is the best safety on the board at this point. His dad is an Ohio legend, went to Ohio State. He played in the NFL for multiple years with the Bills and the Vikings. There's NFL bloodlines there. I think Antoine Winfield Jr. is the pick here if I'm the Cleveland Browns. So let's see what they decide to do. Wouldn't be shocked if they went cornerback either, but I'm going to go safety, Antoine Winfield Jr.
With the 44th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Grant Delpit.
It ended up being Grant Delpit. ESPN kind of tipped their hand there, showed Grant Delpit a little early, and it ended up being Grant Delpit. This is the thing about Grant Delpit. He dealt with some injuries in 2019. He was not the same guy in 2019 that he was in 2018. The Grant Delpit from 2018 would have been a top 10 pick in this year's NFL draft. Remember, going into the season, Grant Delpit was thought to be a top 5 pick. All right. And then he had a 2019 season that was up and down, kind of a mixed bag. He was still good, but not for his standards. So that knocked him back to the second round. Had he been able to come out last year, I think you're talking about a guy that ultimately would have been not only a first round pick, but a top half of the first round pick last season. So this guy is extremely talented. His biggest deficiency is his inability to get guys on the ground out in space. When you're talking about a guy being able to make plays, though, in coverage, Grant Delpit is capable of doing that with the best of them in this draft. But his biggest deficiency right now is his ability to come up and tackle. But he's got the range. You see him making plays. He's got the ability. So it's not a bad pick by the Cleveland Browns. I actually like Grant Delpit a lot. But Antoine Winfield, for me, and his ball skills, and it's all in what you're looking for, honestly speaking. If you're looking for a corner, a safety that's going to drop 30 yards deep and be in coverage and find the football, then Antoine Winfield Jr. is your guy. If you're looking for a guy that can move around, because Antoine Winfield isn't the same safety around the line of scrimmage. And I think that's why you're seeing him drop. He's not as versatile. He's more of a free safety. Nothing more, nothing less. He's really just a free safety. You don't really want him in the box. He's kind of small, not overly physical. So I think that's why you're seeing all these other safeties go ahead of him. I mean, this is a guy that most people thought would be the second safety off the board. And yet this is now the third safety taken after we saw Xavier McKinney go. We saw Kyle Duggar go. And now we've seen Grant Delpit go. And I think Antoine Winfield may be the next one to go, but a lot of people like Jeremy Chin, so it wouldn't shock me if Jeremy Chin ended up going before him because of his versatility and his ability to be able to come up and give you a little something in the box as well. Buccaneers pick is in. Let's see what they decide to do.
NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
There it is.
Defensive back.
Antoine Winfield is the pick.
Okay, this is kind of strange. We've had 4 safeties go off here in the second round, and they both went in back-to-back picks.
So Antoine Winfield is the pick. And he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer now. And I told you the safety position was going to be ravaged in the second round. And there it is. My top 4 safeties in this draft, gone. Just like that. I'm still shocked at how these edge rushers are being bypassed. Yetur Gross-Matos was snatched up by the Carolina Panthers, but AJ Epineza, I think teams are really sleeping on AJ Epineza, man. I really think the disrespect here is legit because of his lack of explosion. And I think if he ends up in the right situation, man, he's going to show the league that they messed up. So we'll see what happens there. But let's get to some of the super chats. Buccaneers take Antoine Winfield Jr., and to me, he's the best pure free safety in this draft. I think you get a little bit more versatility, way more versatility with Xavier Mckinney. He can do everything. Xavier Mckinney can blitz. Xavier McKinney can play down inside the box. He could be a great underneath zone defender. Xavier McKinney can drop back and give you some coverage ability 20, 30 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Antoine Winfield is more of a pure free safety. He's a guy that's looking to make plays back, 30, 40 yards away from the line of scrimmage, reading the quarterback's eyes, and going and making a play on the football. And he does it better than anybody else in this draft. So that's a good pickup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hong Kong Phooey, #1 private eye. Hong Kong Phooey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Hong Kong Phooey writes, the wine-winning Louie, LOL. You buzzing, bro. Hashtag HTTR. I already told you. Before it's all said and done, we're going to be lit. We're going to be Litsky tonight. Litsville, USA is what I call it. So, Denver Broncos pick is in. And let's see. They went Jerry Jeudy yesterday. Let's go edge rusher here.
2020 NFL Draft. The Denver Broncos select KJ Hamler.
More weapons for Drew Lock. Boy, they're going to make sure Drew Lock eating somebody's ass alive next year. So, I talked about yesterday, and it's funny, I said this yesterday. I said the one thing the Denver Broncos don't really have is a true slot receiver. A guy that's shifty, gets in and out of breaks with some speed that can hurt you. Now they do. KJ Hamler is it. And somebody asked me about KJ Hamler. I was a Packers fan earlier. Asked me about KJ Hamler getting to the Packers. And I said, no way with that kind of speed does he last until the back end of the second round. And here he is, gone at 46 to the Denver Broncos. Makes a ton of sense. They didn't have this kind of receiver. They got a big receiver in Cortland Sutton. They got a kind of do-it-all type of receiver in Jerry Jeudy. And now you got a guy that can work underneath but also beat you deep from the slot in KJ Hamler. Has some issues with catching the football at times, but that's not overshadowed by his speed. His speed is his primary go-to trait that is going to help him separate at the next level. And now you go Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton, and their tight end Noah Fant to go along with the 2 running backs that they have in the backfield after getting Melvin Gordon the third and the running back that they already had. And I forgot his name yesterday. I still don't recall his name right now. I can see his face. I can see his long ass hair. Can't think of his name. But that offense is lethal. That offense is absolutely lethal. So the Denver Broncos are doing it, man. They're doing it. The Falcons pick is in. Anxious to see what they decide to do. They can use some more edge rushing help. So this would be a good spot for an edge rusher here. They moved on from a tight end, but they traded for a tight end. So I don't think tight end is necessarily on the board here for them. Lost the running back, but replaced him with Todd Gurley. So I don't think that is necessarily the move here. As I think about the Falcons roster, edge rusher makes the most sense to me. They already took care of corner. I think edge rusher makes the most sense here. If you're looking for a quarterback to back up Matt Ryan, maybe Jake Fromm makes some sense here. I've heard rumors that the Falcons were interested in potentially bringing Jake Fromm back home. That makes a lot of sense here if that's the direction you want to go in. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if you're looking to win now, edge rusher would be what I would do, personally. Anyway, let's get to another super chat. Malik Ross, double up, Malik Ross, thank you for the super chat. Trayvon Diggs or Chase Claypool at 66. Love your work, man. Appreciate you, Malik. Seriously, bro. I would tell you if those two are sitting on the board at the same time, I would probably err on the side of Trayvon Diggs because you could find another receiver in the draft. We got 2 4th-round picks. There will still be ample opportunities to get a quality wide receiver. Cornerback, you start passing on corner and you start looking at options as you get into the 4th and 5th round, shit's going to get pretty dicey, okay? You got a chance to get one of the better corners in this draft. Like, some people thought Trayvon Diggs, and I told you the cornerback position, after the first 2 guys, or those 2 being Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson. After the first 2 guys, man, it was a crapshoot. You could talk to 10 different guys. You'd have 10 different orders after 1 and 2. So there were some people that thought Trayvon Diggs would be a first-round pick. If you can get him at 66, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Appreciate you, though, Malik Ross. Greatly appreciate that. Brian Norfleet, super chat. Appreciate you, Brian Norfleet. Brian writes, thanks for the hard work and insight. What positions do you anticipate having the best value at 66? Cheers. Right now, the way the draft is unfolding in the 2nd round, cornerback looks really good. Nobody's touching corner. And if it continues down this path, you're going to wind up having some really good options at corner. I like Jalen Johnson. I like Trayvon Diggs. These guys are still available. All right, if you're telling me both of those guys are available at 66, I feel pretty damn good about that if I'm the Redskins. So right now, it's trending towards corner. Only 1 tight end has been taken, but we kind of knew that was going to be the case. Not great value. I told you the best value for the tight end position is the mid-rounds. Rounds 3 through 5. That's where you're going to get the most value. But really, rounds 4 and 5, I think, are where you're going to start to see the tight ends come off the board like crazy. So, honestly speaking, to me, cornerback right now is trending. But again, we are still a full 19 picks away from when the Redskins select. You could see tight ends, cornerbacks come off the board in bunches before we get to 66. So, Atlanta Falcons up. I would go edge rusher if I'm them. Let's see what they decide to do.
Work alongside the American Cancer Society and make this disease a thing of the past. With the 47th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Marlon Davison, defensive tackle, Auburn.
So Marlon Davison is the pick. He is a tweener. So Auburn Tiger, he's a tweener. He's a really interesting guy because really what it comes down to, Roger Goodell read him as a defensive tackle. This was a guy that was primarily a defensive end / edge rusher. And a lot of his best rushes came with him in a 2-point stance. This is a guy that's damn near 300 pounds that was rushing from a 2-point stance, standing up. So you got to really be careful as to how you use him because when you stick him inside, he wasn't as effective as when he stood up. Like, they're showing clips of him. Look at him standing up in a 2-point stance and watch him. He's actually a really good edge rusher out of a 2-point stance. But when he sticks his hand in the ground, he's not the same guy. It's weird because he's 300 pounds. You're not used to 300-pound guys operating better standing up. But that's how he operates, and he operates better on the outside, not on the inside. You stick him inside, he's not as explosive, he's not as dynamic, he gets caught up on blocks. It's going to be interesting to see where he plays because a lot of people felt like he had first-round talent, but where are you going to play him is the question. I want to see what the Falcons decide to do with him. If they think they're going to stick him inside and he's going to dominate, they got another thing coming. Now, if they stick him on the outside, this guy's a unique specimen. Now, it's one thing to beat SEC tackles. It's a totally different thing. All right. We had a little hiccup there. Hopefully, that was the first and the last one. Because I was just talking my ass off. I don't know where I left off, and I don't know what's the last thing you heard me say. But I was talking my ass off. I'm actually pretty upset. I'm actually pretty upset at this point because I was seriously having a whole conversation with you guys, and I don't know what's the last thing you heard, but the Seattle Seahawks pick is in.
The New York Jets have traded the 48th pick to the Seattle Seahawks. With the 48th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Darrell Taylor, defensive end, Tennessee.
There go the Seahawks again, being the smartest guy in the room. Now, this guy has talent, man. And you know what? I'm not going to kill them for this pick. And they snuck a trade in on us. They traded up to get this guy. I'm not going to kill them for this pick. Here's why. This guy's got stupid potential. I talked about him on my Edge Rusher show on Draft Live 101 or Draft 101 Live. This guy's got dumb potential at the next level. It's just untapped potential because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, man. He's just a big ball of energy. He's explosive. He's twitchy. He's everything you're looking for as an edge rusher at the next level. He just doesn't know how to use all of his talents. And once he becomes more confident in his abilities and he learns how to use his moves, how to set them up, and also learns some technique. He has no technique whatsoever at this point. Doesn't use his hands at all and none of that. Once he starts to figure out some of that stuff, he's going to be a problem. Darrell Taylor is actually really talented, but again, there are a lot of guys. Let's look at the edge rushers real quick. There are a lot of guys that I thought were better than him in this draft. He's way down the list. He was my number 10 edge rusher. Yetur Gross-Matos is gone, but I mean, look at all the guys in front of him. Zach Bond, AJ Epineza, Jonathan Grenard, Terrell Lewis, Jabbar Zuniga, Travis Gibson. I will say this. Out of this list that you guys are staring at right now, outside of Travis Gibson, the guy with the highest upside is Darrell Taylor. So from that standpoint, I actually commend the Seahawks for going out on a limb, but I'm not going to give them too much credit because that's what they do. They want to be the smartest guys in the room. So they see a guy with talent. They decided to trade up for him. We'll see if they're able. But the Seahawks, I can say this, they coach them up well, and they get the most out of these guys at the next level. So we'll see if they can do that with Darrell Taylor. Andrew Thompson with the Super Chat. Thank you for the Super Chat, AT. Greatly appreciated. My man Andrew writes, do you think the Steelers would take a quarterback tonight? It's possible. I would if I were them. I wouldn't do it in the second round, though. I would do it in the third round. But I would take a quarter. You saw your quarterbacks last year. They stunk. Jalen Hurts makes a ton of sense. If you want Jalen Hurts, you're going to have to do it in the second round. He won't be there for you in the third round. You'll have to trade back up if you want Hurts and you don't take him now. But if you're fine with Eason or you're fine with one of these other guys in this draft, and there are a bunch of them, Eason or what's the quarterback from Georgia? Damn it, man. Jake Fromm. If you're comfortable with any of those guys, then you don't have to do quarterback right now. Those guys will be around. Well, at least Fromm will in the third round, I believe. But if you want Jalen Hurts, you got to do it right now. So I could see the Steelers going Jalen Hurts right now at 49. Makes a ton of sense. They've missed at the quarterback position. I think they regretted trading Dobbs. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. But the guys that they put on the field last year were god awful. Both of them. Trash after Roethlisberger got injured. And I don't see a future with either one of those two quarterbacks. And because of that, I think you may need to go quarterback in this draft. And if you're going to go quarterback, the sooner the better. So we'll see. Philip Lindsay. Thank you, Emperor Meech. Philip damn Lindsay. I've been trying to figure his name out for the last 2 days. Thank you. AJ Epinesa is free falling, says Christian Peterson. Free falling. Yeah, he's free falling. And I don't like it. I'm going to be really honest with you. In the NFL, they're becoming slaves to explosive edge rushers. And it's something to be said about guys with technique that can use their hands. All right. The Bozas aren't explosive and dynamic. They got some skills, but they're not dynamic speed-wise, but they are technicians. AJ Epinesa is being slept on. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I will say this. AJ Epinesa is not the run defender that the Bozas were, and he's not as quick as the Bozas are. That being said, he knows how to get to the quarterback. Anyhow, Chris Lou, thank you for the super chat, Chris Lou. Chris Lou writes, "What's up, Louie? Would you go running back if top one still available at 66? PS, your glass is empty. Refill. # drink responsibly." It's getting empty. It was empty probably when you said that. It took me a while to get to your comment, but I got a little something left, so I'm gonna keep refilling it. Trust me. And I ain't driving anywhere, so I'm drinking responsibly. All right. No, I wouldn't go running back. Too many needs on this roster for you to bypass those to go with a running back. Here's the Steelers pick.
In the 2020 NFL Draft, Pittsburgh Steelers select Chase Claypool, wide receiver.
Chase Claypool, for all you Redskins fans out there that were thinking he was going to get to 66, I told you, he's not getting to 66. He's too big and he's too damn fast. Those guys generally do not last until the third round. He's now gone. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler, and I love that for him because Ben's going to give him opportunities to make plays. Love it for the Golden Domer. He's going to go there, and he's going to make some plays, man. Good for him. Chase Claypool off the board to the Steelers at number 49. So, no, I would not go running back at 66. It just makes zero sense for me. With all the holes the Redskins have to fill, you're talking offensive tackle, corner, safety, tight end, wide receiver. There's too many places, even inside linebacker or just linebacker in general could use some love before you even start sniffing around the running back position. If you want to go running back, I'm not telling you not to go running back in this draft. You could get a running back later on. Right now is not the time to do it if I'm the Redskins. So I don't think that's what the Redskins would look to do. So thank you for the super chat, Chris Lou. Josh Kirby, thank you for the super chat. Josh Kirby, greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you for your generous contribution, man. Greatly appreciate that. Josh Kirby says, appreciate all the time and hard work you put in, working the evening shift with no TV. So thank you for providing live coverage, HTTR. Thank you, Josh Kirby, for tuning in. Although you do not have a TV monitor or a laptop or anything like that in front of you, you still found a way to tune in here to the Louie T Network, and I'm glad I could provide coverage for you to give you the information that you're looking for. So it's mutual beneficial for both of us, man. Thank you for tuning in and your contribution, Josh Kirby. Appreciate it, man. Brian Haynes with the super chat. Greatly appreciated, Brian Haynes. Thank you. It sucks to sit here as a Redskins fan and watch other teams get great players in the second round while we wait. It's the price of doing business, my man. You weren't complaining last year when we traded back into the first round and got Montez Sweat, were you? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Why do they say that? Why is that even an expression? Why can't I have my cake and eat it too? What am I supposed to just look at the cake and not eat it? Like, why don't they say you can't have your cake and icing too? You can have just regular cake, but I'm not going to have cake and not eat it. Chicago Bears selection.
Chicago Bears select Jalen Johnson.
Well, one of those corners I talked about is gone now. Jalen Johnson was the next corner up in my mind in this draft. Chicago is a great place for him because Khalil Mack and the rest of that defense does a good job of getting to the quarterback. He's going to be, and I love his game because he's aggressive. He's in your face. He's deleting the airspace, and he's aggressive. You may beat him. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to come back, and as a corner, you've got to have selective memory. You've got to be able to erase the fact this guy just beat you for a 57-yard touchdown, and you got to come back and be fearless. All right, now, I'm not saying that you get your ass roasted a couple of times like Josh Norman, and you still come up and ignore the fact that you're not fast enough to keep up with this guy. But at the same time, like, I'm watching this play against Washington, and I remember watching him pick off Jacob Eason and take it to the crib. If they're going to telegraph a route, you able to read the split, guy comes inside, you know it's an outbreaking route, you can sit on it and make a play. This guy, I just like his competitiveness, man. And I talked about the corners in his draft. The unique ability of these corners in this particular draft is such that these guys are able to play outside, inside, both sides. I love it. You're not just seeing guys stay on one side of the field. You're seeing guys play on the left side, on the right side, and in the slot. So the ability to be versatile is something that is very appealing to me with some of these corners in this draft. And with Jalen Johnson, he was one of those guys that I was really interested in terms of his ability to be versatile. So love the pick for the Chicago Bears. I would have loved it if he would have been on the board for the Redskins. He wasn't. The Cowboys pick is in. Here it is.
Are on the clock. All of us in the National Football League extend our sincere condolences to Dak Prescott, whose brother Jace passed away yesterday.
Yep.
Dak, our thoughts are with you and your family.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's a damn shame. 31 years old, man. That shit don't make no sense. And he lost his mom already. Now he's got to bury his brother at 31. I mean, that shit is senseless, man. I don't know what happened. You know, a lot of people are trying to, draw conclusions. Oh, it was Corona, whatever the case may be. I don't know what it was, but whatever it is, it's senseless. And I talked about it on my Chase Young video yesterday, that it was a damn crying shame that he has to go through this again. But my thoughts and prayers are out to him and his family, and it's just a really unfortunate set of circumstances for him and his family. Anyhow, yeah, Brian Haynes, I understand where you're coming from, bro, but you knew this was coming. You knew you had to sit tight and allow the second round to play out. And again, as I mentioned, that's the price of doing business. You weren't complaining last year when the Redskins traded back into the first round and got Montez Sweat. You were elated. You were ecstatic. It's only when you realize, damn, we stink, and we gave up our second round pick. Had we been good, had we been a playoff team, you probably would have been a lot more open to the fact that we gave up that second round pick. But because the fact we stunk and our second pick in the third round, or our pick in the second round was the second pick, so it would have been 34th overall, you're looking like, damn, we could have used that pick. And we could have used that pick. But it is what it is. It's over and done with. We're taking our lumps right now. We're 15 picks away from our selection. Well, let's see what's available when we get there. But I understand where you're coming from, Brian. Definitely. See if we got any more super chats. Got another one down here from Trevor Patch. Double up. Trevor Patch says, super chat for the Norman comment. Yeah. We're going to see. Look, I bet you he plays well in Buffalo. Bet you any amount of money. He plays better in Buffalo than he did with us. We didn't use him right. Too much man-to-man for Josh Norman. He should have been playing cover 3. So, anyway, let's see what the Cowboys do here. I'm going to say the Cowboys have made a bunch of moves this offseason. They've got themselves an edge rusher in Alden Smith. They've got themselves a couple of defensive tackles. They got Dontari Poe and Gerald McCoy. So they're not looking for defensive line help at all whatsoever. They got Ha Clinton Dix. I don't give a shit about Ha Clinton Dix, which is why I mocked them Xavier McKinney. So a safety would make sense here. I don't think that's where they're going either, though. Let's see. You know what? I know they re-signed Blake Jarwin, but they lost Jason Witten. I'm going to put a tight end on their ass right here. Tight end or corner. All right, those are the two positions. And being that Jalen Johnson just came off the board, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're going to take a corner because they're getting nervous that corners are starting to come off the board. I'm going to say it's Jalen Johnson, it's a corner or a tight end. All right. David Henline. Thank you for the super chat, David. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat, David Henline. He says, appreciate everything you do, Louie T. Or he says, Mr. T. Wanted to know your thoughts are right now with Trent. I'm getting nervous here. We need this trade. Honestly speaking, man, it's really out of our hands. If the Vikings don't want to come up off any of their draft compensation, they don't think they can afford Trent, whatever the case may be, they could really be the last hope we have. I mean, again, I think Ron Rivera is doing us a favor. I know a lot of you want to just trade Trent, but I think teams are trying to fleece us. You know, if we were to get a 4th and a 5th for Trent, a lot of you would be like, what the hell? Like, he's saving us from that. Teams are making offers, but they're not good ones. Now, if Ron is still expecting a 1st, then and teams are offering him a 2nd, then you would say, hey, Ron, man, what the hell is going on, dude? Like, what are you doing? That's not the case, though. I don't think anybody's offering the Redskins a 1st or a 2nd. I think it's starting with a 3rd, but I don't think he wants at least 2/3. I don't think anybody's offering 2/3. I think you're getting a 3rd and a 4th. So the Cowboys pick is in. I'm going to say corner or tight end. Let's say it's a corner.
With the 51st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Trayvon Diggs, defensive back.
Well, the other cornerback that I talked about is gone off the board. Trayvon Diggs is a Dallas Cowboy, and I'm disappointed, man. I was really hoping that. All right, so I caught it that time when it went out, so I didn't keep talking like a dumbass like I did the last time. So Trayvon Diggs is a Dallas Cowboy, and I'm disappointed as a Redskins fan. I was hoping that the Redskins would be able to see one of these corners, Jalen Johnson or Trayvon Diggs, fall to them. Obviously, that didn't take place. So at this point, I think corner is out of the running. You know, when you look at the cornerback position, let's take a look at the cornerback position, shall we? And I'm going to redo this because I probably am way behind at this point. So let's try this again.
He's just the 3rd Seminole to have multiple 1,000 yards.
I know I was a little behind, so I'm going to play quick. I'm going to play catch up here because I was getting too far behind because of some of these glitches and things that were happening with my connection over here. Yeah, the connection is getting pretty bad. I called my cable provider today, and I'm getting out of the business of being in business with them. They're trash, and I'm about to end my relationship with them here shortly. I couldn't do it before the draft. Not enough time to have somebody else come out and install, but best believe I'm about to switch cable providers because this is ridiculous. Anyway, Cam Akers was selected by some team. Don't ask me who, but I'm curious and I want to find out, so I'm going to look. Because I just missed. Hey, somebody put that in the comment section for me. Who did Cam Akers? Rams pick Cam Akers. Thank you, somebody. Thank you, Raw Up and Coming Blog News, for that. Rams select Cam Akers, running back out of Florida State, and that's a great selection for them. That's a great place for him after moving on from Todd Gurley to get a versatile back like that in the 2nd round. That's a good pick for them. Anyway, let's go back to the Cowboys getting Trayvon Diggs. A little disappointed about that because I was hoping that the Redskins could allow one of those guys to sneak in to the 3rd round, and both of them are gone. Let's take a look at the cornerback position real quick and see what it looks like now. Trayvon Diggs gone, Jalen Johnson gone, Christian Fulton is still available. He's solid, but at 66, I wouldn't be all that excited about that.
Third pick.
Let's see what the Eagles do.
20 NFL draft. The Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma.
Jalen Hurts is a Philadelphia Eagle. Wow, that is interesting as hell. Oh my God. It makes a lot of sense though, because Carson Wentz gets hurt every single year. And at some point, you got to protect yourself. And what better guy to do it with than a guy that seems to come off the bench and make magic in Jalen Hurts? Eventually, if Carson Wentz can't stay healthy, Jalen Hurts would be one hell of a replacement. Now, I like Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia because I'm not afraid of Jalen Hurts. But I do think he's extremely talented and capable of being a starter in this league. But by no means am I shivering in me boots because of Jalen Hurts. But I love this pick for Philadelphia. It makes a ton of sense. Think about it. Nicholas Foles is gone, all right? They don't have a true backup. They had to go get 116-year-old Josh McCown to play for them in a playoff game last year. Playoffs? Yeah. Playoffs? Josh McCown. They got Jalen Hurts now, man. I love the pick for them. I'm just not afraid. I'm not, as a wise man once said to me, I'm not scared of Jalen Hurts. He's talented, though. Make no mistake about it. But I'm not afraid. But that's a really good pick for Philadelphia. Honestly. Seriously, it is. David Henline, to wrap up your super chat, don't be nervous about a Trent trade. It may not happen. You have to be real with yourself. It may not be coming. The resolution that you're looking for as a Redskins fan, that we're all looking for, which is a trade, may not come to fruition. And we may have to come with the grips we may have to come to grips with the fact that Trent may not play another year for the Redskins. He may sit out another whole damn year with the Redskins. It's very possible that he does that. If I'm Ron Rivera, I sit down with Trent and I try to figure out a way to give him the play and say, look, man, if you want to get another big payday, your best option is to come play for us in 2020, ball out, and we're not going to franchise tag you. So if you come in, we promise we won't franchise you. And you hit the free agent market next year with a hell of a season under your belt, and you go back to work and somebody's going to bless you with a new deal. That's what I think I would tell him if I were the Redskins, but we'll see if that takes place or not. Anyhow, Mr. Laughing My head off, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Double up. He writes, Cowboys pick Trayvon Diggs. And I talked about that already, but I thank you for that because I was behind. But Trayvon Diggs, it was the selection. Really disappointing because, again, I wanted those guys to land in this third round to give the Redskins an opportunity to at least make a decision. That decision has been taken off the board. And so now I think cornerback as a whole off the board for the Redskins in the third round. I don't think that's a position the Redskins should be looking to attack at 66. The value is no longer there at corner. So now you turn your attention to tight end, wide receiver, and offensive tackle if you're the Redskins at 66. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Laughing My Head Off. John Perez, my man JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. JP says, how in the hell is J.K. Dobbins still on the board? I tried to tell a lot of you guys that J.K. Dobbins is a really solid back, but when it comes to his ability to hit the home run, a lot of teams don't see J.K. Dobbins as that guy. They look at other backs and their ability to do things in an extraordinary manner, and they look at J.K. Dobbins and they say he doesn't have one trait that's elite. He does everything good. He does nothing great. He doesn't have top end. He doesn't have, he might run a 4.48, which is really good speed for a running back, but it's not move the needle speed. I think he might actually run like a 4.52 or something like that, but he might run a 4.48, whatever. His speed is okay. It's not, I don't think it scares anybody. His pass catching ability is solid. It's not Clyde Edwards-Helaire or even DeAndre Swift, catching the football out of the backfield. He's not elusive. He doesn't make anybody really miss. Like, there's a lot of holes in his game. He's a good back. Don't get me wrong. But I'm explaining to you why he's still on the board as we sit here at 54 in the second round. And someone's going to take him. As a matter of fact, the Buffalo Bills may take him right here. You know, they could use a running back. This makes a ton of sense. J.K. Dobbins to the Bills. Why not? Right here. Let's see. A damn twin. I'm disappointed in my connection. You should be disappointed. I'm disappointed. It's my damn connection. It ain't yours. I'm disappointed in that shit. The Bills pick is in. If this isn't J.K. Dobbins, I throw my hands up in the air. Okay? I throw my hands up and I give up.
With the 54th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select A.J. Epinesa, defensive end.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a great pick for the Bills. Long overdue. I'm telling you, he's going to tear the league up, and people are going to regret passing on A.J. Epinesa, but the Bills could use a running back. I love Devin Singletary as much as the next man. You know how I feel about Devin Singletary. But you had Frank Gore, Forever Frank, in your backfield last year as a starter for some of the year. I would have went with J.K. Dobbins, but look, you're not going to get me to argue because A.J. Epinesa should have been taken off the board a long time ago. And the fact that he wasn't was, to me, a travesty, and I'm glad he's getting an opportunity to go here to the Buffalo Bills, and I think he's going to make some noise in the AFC East. Anyhow, let's keep going. Potluckzation. Thank you for the super chat. Potluckzation. Sweat versus our second round this year. Thoughts on the trade? Do you agree with it now? How this year's draft pan out, or would you rather our second round pick? Nope. I told you I was good with Montez Sweat, man. Montez Sweat was top 15 talent in last year's draft, and I think he would have been a first-round pick in this year's draft as well with his talent. And I feel good about what the Redskins did. Yeah, we're missing out on good football players, but I'm not short-sighted. All right, I'm not short-sighted. I can see the big picture. You know, having a guy like Montez Sweat is more valuable than, getting a corner or whatever the Redskins would have been, or a wide receiver or even a tackle. And no tackle. Look, no tackle has gone in the second round. So that shows you how people feel about the tackles in the second round. Not a single one. I think Joshua Jones could have gone already, honestly speaking, but not a single tackle has been selected. So, look, I'm not upset. I honestly am fine with the fact that the Redskins don't have a second round pick. I'm not crying over spilt milk. I'd much rather have my Montez Sweat. Thank you very much. So I have no issues. And I said it yesterday. I much prefer what the Redskins did, which was trade for Montez Sweat last year, give up the second rounder, and sit. Look, sometimes you got to sit in timeout. Okay? Sometimes you get popped on the wrist. That's a no. And you got to go sit in timeout. All right? We got to go sit in timeout. We got to go face the wall. I'm okay with that. All right? It's better than having to sit in timeout in the first round. And we've done that before. You know what it was like after that RG3 trade, when we had to go face the wall the whole first round, and we had to stand there and wait till it was our turn. That shit sucked. That's not the second round. It doesn't hold as much weight. Look, the second round is the new first round. So you feel like you're missing out. Oh my God. Just look at Montez Sweat as our second round pick this year. Are you not excited about that? I am. We got it a year early. That's it. So instead of him coming in as a rookie this year in the second round, he's already got a year under his belt. He's a little bit more seasoned, and he's ready to contribute in an even bigger fashion in 2020 because he was our second round pick last year that we got in the first round pick. Think of it that way. Thank you for the super chat, Potluckzation. Let's go. See, I got another super chat here from my man DMV fan 123. Double up. Thank you for the super chat, DMV 123. Says Carson Wentz pack in the air tonight. Look, funny. Look, this isn't what the Packers did yesterday. This isn't that. This is an insurance policy, is what this is. Jalen Hurts is an insurance policy. Carson Wentz wants to get hurt every year. We need a reliable backup. They wouldn't have done this if Nicholas Foles was still on the team, but he's not. And you saw why. If they had Jalen Hurts last year, they beat Seattle in the playoffs last year. Think about that for a second. Josh McCown, like, I forgot what he did. Sprained his MCL, tore his, whatever he did. He did something to his ankle, his ACL, MCL. The guy is 80. I told you he's 116, and he was injured. And he gutted it out, and he gave him a shot in the playoffs. You can't keep doing this with Carson Wentz and not have a reliable backup. They're not going to move on from him. The Packers potentially could move on from Aaron Rodgers as early as next year after trading for Jordan Love. They're probably not. I think they're going to give Aaron Rodgers at least 3 more years. But by the time they get to that 4th year of the contract, that's when they got to start figuring out, is Jordan Love a guy worth picking up the 5th year option for? And is this a guy we want long term? Aaron Rodgers is on borrowed time in Green Bay. That is not the case in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts is not a threat to start over Carson Wentz. No time in the near future. Now, if Wentz can't stay healthy, that's when Jalen Hurts becomes a part of the equation. But he's there for insurance. If Wentz goes down, at least now we have a competent, credible backup that we can stick in the game and think we can win football games with and not have to worry about it being Josh McCown or what's the guy the Redskins took in the draft some years ago out of Indiana that they took and got. I can't remember his name. You know who I'm talking about, though. Anyhow, let's see. Damon Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it, Damon. Damon writes, good pick. We need to get to the quarterback. I want it running back. He's a Bills fan. I thought they were going to go J.K. Dobbins. That would have made the most sense to me at that time. But instead, they went edge rusher. There's no I don't have a problem with that because, as he mentioned, they do need to get to the quarterback. Jerry Hughes is starting to get up there in age. Trent Murphy is solid, but he doesn't change the game for you. So this is a guy, and obviously, one-man gang, Lorenzo Alexander just retired. So they could use some help getting to the quarterback off the edge, and I think he's going to help them do that. I thought running back would have made a lot of sense there. Here's the Baltimore Ravens pick at 55.
5th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select J.K. Dobbins, running back, Ohio State.
So J.K. Dobbins is now a Baltimore Raven. And you know what's insane to me with all of these picks of running backs is that they're with teams that I feel like already have enough running backs. It's weird. How many running backs do the Ravens need? They got Gus Edwards. They just drafted my man out of Oklahoma State last year, Justice Hill. They obviously have Mark Ingram. I mean, shit, how many backs do you need? I mean, Indianapolis. I told you, the dude that I was thinking about, his name is Jordan something, that they got out of Ole Miss. They already had Marlon Mack. How many damn running backs do you need? Like, these teams that are taking running backs are just taking them because they're like, shit, we look at the board, best player available. We really don't need a running back, but this is the best guy on our board. Let's just take him. Like, why are you taking a running back here? I don't really understand. I don't get this. But I could say this. He's an upgrade over every back on their roster, including Mark Ingram. But you didn't need a running back. You didn't lose to the Tennessee Titans last year in the playoffs because you didn't have a running back. You lost because you couldn't stop the run. So how about you draft a defensive tackle? Okay? Like, again, the draft is all about getting value. They got value here, so I'm not going to complain about it. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. That's all. But again, that's how you win in this league. You don't draft for need. You draft for value. If you start drafting for need, that's how you get into trouble. So I get it. I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I get it. I understand the logic. Thank you for the super chat, Damon Brown. Appreciate that. Got another super chat. Potluckization. Double up. Thank you for the super chat. Much love, bro. Thanks for all your hard work. No, thank you for all that you do for the Louie T Network. I'm not drunk, y'all. I'm not. I'm serious. I'm good. I'll let you know when I get tipsy. I'm not there yet. So, I appreciate you. I really do, man. Thank you for the super chat. Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat, Damn Twin. He says, it's all good, Lou. Janky connection or not, I'm still riding with you, fam. It looks like Trent's ass playing for us this year, whether he likes it or not. It may come to that. You know, it's not over yet. Don't give up on a Trent trade yet. But it's looking more and more like, yeah, that's going to be the case. But I want to go back to a super chat I had earlier in the show. Someone asked me, what I thought about 66. I'm going to tell you right now, we're 10 picks away from the Redskins. The Dolphins are about to make a selection. They're not going wide receiver here. I'm going to tell you right now, receiver is where the value is. And that's easy to say. Hold on.
With the 56th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Raekwon Davis, defensive tackle, Alabama.
That makes a ton of sense for the Dolphins, man. They need interior defensive line help. And this guy, he's an enigma, man. If you go back to 2017, and I talked about this on my defensive line edge rusher draft 101 live video. If you go back to 2017, when Raekwon Davis was all the rage, he was one of the most dominant players in college football. I don't know what the hell happened to him after that, but he wasn't the same guy in 2018, and he wasn't the same guy in 2019. I can't explain why. All I know is if he can get back to the 2017 Raekwon Davis that we all fell in love with, this guy's going to be a stud at the next level. And so this is a hell of a pick. This guy's got immense potential. He's big, he's physical, he's long, pause, and he's able to get to the quarterback. So I want to see what happens with him at the next level, but I like the pick for the Dolphins here. It makes a ton of sense, and it's good value at this point of the second round. The Rams are on the clock. They've made one pick already, selecting running back Cam Akers out of Florida State. Now they're on the board for the second time in the second round. Let's see what they decide to do here. If I'm the Rams, I think you got to consider edge rusher here. I think that makes a ton of sense. Let's see what edge rushers are available for the Rams to select at this point, because you lose Dante Fowler Jr. Clay Matthews is gone as well. Not to say that he was a big difference maker anyhow, but that's two edge rushers. Zach Bond makes a ton of sense. I think Jonathan Grenard makes a ton of sense for them right now. I'd like to see them pull the trigger on Jonathan Grenard. I think he makes a ton of sense, even more so than Zach Bond, who's a little bit shorter arms, all of that good jazz. A guy like Jonathan Grenard, for me, makes a ton of sense for the Rams as an edge rusher right now, if that's the direction that they wanted to go. Anyhow, I want to double back to a comment made earlier, or super chat, that asked me, what did I think the pick at 66 was going to be? I told you, as we get closer, I'll be able to give you something. I can't give you the exact pick right now, but I can tell you this much. If Denzel Mims out of Baylor is there at 66, that is tremendous value. And if you're the Redskins, you have to pounce on that. That's the kind of receiver that I was looking for. Did not expect to be there. And we're not out of the woods yet. We're a full 9 picks away. He could go, Van Jefferson could go, and I could look at the wide receiver position totally different if those guys come off the board. Let's look at the wide receiver position, speaking of which. So Laviska Shenault is gone. Denzel Mims is my next best receiver. T. Higgins is gone. AGG still available. Chase Claypool is gone. So Van Jefferson, AGG, and Denzel Mims are my 3 best receivers available. Michael Pittman Jr. is gone at 13. So Tyler Johnson is a guy I wouldn't mind at 66 either. So if you told me Tyler Johnson, Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims, or AGG was the pick at 66, I'd be happy with that. I can tell you this much. Van Jefferson, not what I'm looking for in terms of size, but I love Van Jefferson's game, so I wouldn't be opposed to him. I told you Isaiah Hodgins is the guy that I mocked the Redskins to get, and you wouldn't have to spend 66 on Isaiah Hodgins. You can get him in the 4th round. Redskins have 2 4th-round picks. You can get Isaiah Hodgins in the 4th round, so you don't have to spend that pick now on a Isaiah Hodgins. But if you want Tyler Johnson or you want Denzel Mims in particular, if he's available, I'm not convinced that he's going to be there at 66. I think someone's going to take him off the board. But right now, if you're asking me to zero in on one particular guy, Denzel Mims is that player at 66. He'd be the guy that I'd want the Redskins to at least have a chance to select, at least have that option available to them on the board at the time of their selection. So Denzel Mims at 66 right now is the guy that I'm hoping is still available for the Redskins to select. Thank you for the super chats, Potluckization and Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Trevor Pat says, another blue motorcycle, my picks will get better. Hey, man, it always helps. All right. Rev up that motorcycle, bro. Rev it up. All right. Appreciate you, Trevor Patch. Appreciate you, bro. Ernest Campbell says, oh, thank you for the super chat, Ernest Campbell. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Ernest Campbell writes, Dunny and Trent both have equal trade value. LOL. That is impossible. That can't be right. And that's the way the league is trying to portray it, as if a 5th rounder or a 4th rounder is the best you can do for Trent Williams. Not happening. Ron is not going for it. I can assure you of that. All right. Nate Sudfeld. Thank you, Mr. DCB 215. Nate Sudfeld was the guy I was thinking about for the Philadelphia Eagles. Mr. Laughing My Head Off. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Mr. Laughing My Head Off writes, just pretend we drafted 2 defensive ends this year, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. Why do people sleep on Montez? Dude eats up field, 4'4" speed, 6'6". Exactly. Just pretend that we got Montez Sweat in the 2nd round. I mean, that's the way you got to look at these things. Don't look at it as, oh no, we don't have a 2nd round pick. I can't believe it. We got Montez Sweat last year. That was our 2nd round pick. And I'm more than happy with the selection. So, the Rams are doing a hell of a lot of talking on the phone right now. This is an interesting pick because I think it should be an edge rusher. I just talked about the guys that I would take for them right now. Obviously, also you got a 200-year-old tackle out there, and Andrew Whitworth, who's on his last legs. This is probably his last year. Ezra Cleveland makes a lot of sense here too.
Pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Van Jefferson, wide receiver.
So Van Jefferson gone, and like I just mentioned to you guys, just like that, we could easily see a number of receivers come off the board before 66. We're not out of the woods yet. Van Jefferson was one of the guys that I really liked. He's got NFL bloodlines. His dad, Sean Jefferson, played in the league for a number of years. I told you that he went to work on one of the best corners in college football at LSU. And so I feel like Van Jefferson has a lot of Van Chi. His real name is Van Chi. All right, but they call him Van for short. Van Chi sounds like something 2 Chainz would say, you know. But this guy's talented, man. Van Jefferson is talented, and the Rams just got themselves a really good wide receiver. And so I was hoping he'd be available for the Redskins. He's not. And now all you can do is cross your fingers that you get to 66 and Denzel Mims is there. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm staring at number 59 and the New York Jets. And that looks like a great landing destination for Denzel Mims. I don't think you're going to get to 66 and have him still available. I'm just going to be really honest with you. Denzel Mims is the guy that I'm targeting for Redskins right now. If you're a Redskins fan out there, you need to cross your fingers that Denzel Mims is available at 66. I don't think he's going to be there, though. I'm going to be really brutally honest with you. That's why I'm here, to make sure that I keep it a buck with you guys. A buck and some change. All right. Pick 59, the Jets sit there. They just lost Robbie Anderson in free agency. They've done everything they can do now. They drafted a tackle. They put themselves in a position to protect their quarterback. Now they need to get him some weapons. 59 looks as good as any position for Denzel Mims to come off the board. So the Vikings could use a receiver, but they drafted Justin Jefferson yesterday. I don't see them doubling down on receiver. They could double down on receiver. Why not? I don't see them doing that here. I see them potentially taking an edge rusher here. I think that at this point in the draft, they could use a guy that can get to the quarterback opposite. Remember, no more. What's the edge rusher that went crazy a couple years ago? One of y'all will tell me.
58th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Minnesota Vikings select Ezra Cleveland, tackle, Boise State.
Well, anybody hoping that the Vikings would trade for Trent, that shit is dead. Dead, I tell you. They just drafted tackle Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State, which is another guy that I wanted on the board for the Redskins. So if you ask me now, the third round for the tackle position is dead. Let's look at offensive tackle. So third round is dead for the offensive tackle position for the Redskins. As we take a look at tackle now. No, I take that back. Joshua Jones is still available. He's a guy that is worthy of the 66th pick in the draft. He's my number 5 tackle. Ezra Cleveland, my 6th tackle, is gone. Sadiq Charles is a guy I think that the Redskins are interested in, but I don't think you have to spend 66 on him. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Redskins did spend 66 on Sadiq Charles, just in fear of losing him. Excuse me, if they don't. But Lucas Niang is a right tackle. He's not a left tackle. That doesn't mean anything. You can flip him, but he's more comfortable on the right side. So I don't see the Redskins drafting Lucas Niang. But the tackle position just got a lot thinner. And the Trent deal is probably Ichnay now after this deal here of the Minnesota Vikings drafting a tackle Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State, a guy that I really was kind of narrowing my focus in on as a guy that I thought the Redskins may have a chance to select. Told you I thought he would be a second-round pick. I didn't think he would, and I told you this when I did my tackle video. I didn't think he would get to the third round. He didn't get to the third round. And a lot of the guys that I said I didn't think would get to the third round haven't gotten to the third round. So I've been pretty much spot on with where guys are going in terms of their value in the draft. I haven't necessarily hit where the teams were, but I didn't think he would make it to the third round. He didn't. I think Denzel Mims is going to go here to the Jets, which is going to kill me because at that point now I'm looking at the board and I'm saying it ain't really shit here that I'm really that interested in, to be honest with you. After AGG is a guy that I would be interested in. I take that back. He could go too. You know, he could be gone before 66. We're still a full 7 picks away from the Redskins. See if we got any more super chats. And we do have one more. David Henline, double up, You know what? I'm going to take this time to pull up, Dave. I appreciate you, bruh. I'm going to fill up my glass real quick, and then we're going to get to your super chat. So I'm going to say this last little bit I got in my bottle for the third round. All right? So this got to last me the rest of the second round into the third round. Let me say that one more time. Into the third round. So David Henline, thank you for the super chat. My man Dave writes, wait, we doubled up already, right? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Dave says, no matter what happens with Trent, I'll still have a permagrin with the Predator on our roster. HTTR. You can't take that away from us. All right. Whatever happens at 66, whatever happens with Trent, you can't take away the fact that we got Chase Young at number 2. We got Chase Young at number 2, baby. Anyway, so let me reassure you on this. The Vikings and the Trent Williams situation, dead, I tell you. They just drafted a tackle, Ezra Cleveland, out of Boise State. So for those of you hoping, me being probably the biggest one supporting that whole Trent to Minnesota train, I just officially got off that train, and I'm not going to get back on. Trent Williams not going to Cleveland, not going to the Jets, not going to Minnesota, not going to Tampa, not going to any of these places that you thought that team needed a tackle. They all drafted tackles, which is what I thought they would do outside of Minnesota. I thought they would draft the tackle. Why? Because it's a cheaper, younger option. It made sense. All of them were in positions to do so. They did it. Good for them. Bad for us. Good for them. Thank you for the super chat, David Henline, man. I really appreciate that, Dave. All right, let's read some comments. Oh, got a super chat. Malik Ross, tripling up. Malik. Let's talk. Malik says, trade out of 66 if the value isn't there. It still may be. You know, look, let me say this. The value may not be there for me. The value may not be there for you. But Kyle Smith may be chomping at the bit to get his hands on one of these guys. He may love Christian Fulton out of LSU and think this guy's got what it takes to be a stud at the next level. That may be his guy that he's circling, saying if he's there, we're taking him. We don't know. Now, personally, if AGG's not there, and maybe that's too soon for AGG in some people's mind, I like AGG. If AGG's there, if Denzel Mims is there, I take one of those guys. And you see Mel Kiper's list. The guys that I like, he doesn't like. He's got other guys ahead of him. He's got Devin Duvernay and Antonio Gibson and Brian Edwards and Lee Bowden. I don't like Lee Bowden at all. He's talented, but not what we're looking for. I like Brian Edwards, and Devin Duvernay, I've grown to like him. He has really grown on me as I watched more of him. I didn't watch enough of him early on in the process. So I misinterpreted what his skill set was. But to me, 59, and I told you this 3 picks ago, the Jets look ripe for the taking at 59 in terms of Denzel Mims. So it wouldn't shock me if right here, Denzel Mims is a New York Jet. So I'm thinking by the time we get to 66, there aren't going to be very many picks that get me excited. I'm going to be very honest with you. Not many guys on the board at that point. Maybe outside of Adam Troutman, who I mocked to the Redskins as, you know, the